And another chapter in the legal battle over Kilmar Abrego Garcia happening right now in a Maryland courtroom. Garcia's supporters gathered outside the Greenbelt, Maryland federal courthouse, where the judge is set to hear arguments at a hearing that's just getting underway right now.
This case is beyond the immigrant community alone. This case is in defense of all of us. All of our guaranteed constitutional rights are under attack. This case impacts every single one of us here today.
Now, remember, Abrego Garcia was arrested by ICE in Baltimore on March 12th. He was then flown with other migrants to a notorious supermax prison in El Salvador. Shortly after that, ICE admitted the deportation was a mistake. Abrego Garcia had legal protection that was supposed to protect him from deportation to El Salvador. And in April, a federal judge and the U.S. Supreme Court both ordered the Trump administration to facilitate his return to the U.S. Now, earlier this month, the Justice Department asserted state secrets privilege in those court filings, and that has led to today's hearing. That's what today's court case is really all about. So let's bring in CBS News immigration and politics reporter Camilo Montoya-Garcia. Thank you so much for joining us, Camilo. Can you walk us through today's hearing?
Sure. So as you underscored, it has been weeks now since this federal judge in Maryland overseeing this hearing ruled that the Trump administration had to facilitate and effectuate the return of Kilmar Abrego Garcia because this man was sent to El Salvador despite a judge's order back in 2019 protecting him from deportation to that country in Central America. As you noted, that ruling was upheld by the Supreme Court in a 9-0 decision. But despite all of that, the Trump administration has provided little and scant details about its actual efforts to facilitate the return of this man to the U.S. And now the Justice Department and the Trump administration are arguing that they can invoke something known as the state secrets privilege to withhold information on this case to the public and to the attorneys of Mr. Abrego Garcia, arguing that releasing details, further information about this case could jeopardize and undermine American foreign policy and national security. And now this judge in Maryland will weigh the legality of that invocation of this legal doctrine and will also see if she can compel the Trump administration to provide more information as to its efforts, if any, to comply with her ruling from early April. But we can expect any adverse ruling against the administration to be appealed very quickly.
And Camilo, I want to lean into another story on the immigration front. CBS News has learned the Department of Homeland Security is requesting the National Guard be brought in at the border. What can you tell us about that?
Well, two U.S. officials tell CBS News that the Department of Homeland Security recently made an official and formal request to the Pentagon seeking the deployment of more than 20,000 active-duty National Guard troops to help DHS and immigration officials with interior immigration enforcement in the U.S. What does that mean? Well, this would be a deployment of National Guard troops with the intention and design to have those troops help ICE, CBP, and other immigration agencies and agents with interior immigration arrests in cities across the U.S. as part of that mass deportation operation that the Trump administration has been overseeing. There are two important factors at play here. This shows, obviously, that the Trump administration continues to use the military in an unprecedented way to carry out immigration enforcement. The administration has already deployed thousands of active duty troops to the border to try to militarize that area and deter illegal crossings. But now it is shifting its attention to the interior of the country to again carry out that mass deportation operation that the president has promised since the campaign. So we'll see if the Pentagon actually grants this request, but it is likely to grant it. We understand it is currently under review.
And Camilo, we understand you also have an update on a story you first brought us of a Georgia teen and her father recently arrested by ICE after traffic stops in Georgia. What have you learned about that?
Yes, so this surrounds the case of Hima Aryas Christoval, a 19-year-old Georgia teen who was arrested by ICE earlier in May after a traffic stop. She was initially charged with making an improper turn, and also with driving without a license by local officials in North Georgia. But those charges have now been dismissed. Despite that, she remains in ICE custody in detention because she is in the country without legal permission illegally, and ICE is seeking to deport her. Her father was at some point also arrested back in April, also after a traffic stop, and they were held at the same facility in Lumpkin, Georgia, overseen by ICE. But now he has been released this week, we understand, on bond after a judge granted him release. He's back with his family in Georgia, but the girl, the 19-year-old Hima, remains in ICE custody. She has a hearing next week, and it is possible, rather, that she could be released, but it is also possible that the government could prevail in its arguments to keep her in detention.
All right, Camilo Montoya-Galvez, thank you so much.